Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Canadians choose travel destinations closer to home. We examine our trade agreements with the European Union and get a recap of the finals of the Cameron Kerr Cup.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Monday, March 17th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news local to the Northwest. Starting this week, the City of Terrace is set to get to work on improving an 800-meter section of Thomas Street. The section goes above Lanphier Hill and then stretches between Cooper Drive and Halliwell Avenue. The road surface has been in a degraded state and the existing water main needed replacing. The work will involve the water main getting replaced, some landscaping being done, as well as sanitary and storm sewer repairs, and the addition of a multi-use pathway. While this construction is happening, traffic will be one-way northbound with some detours being available. MLA for North Coast Haida Gwaii Tamara Davidson has announced some new funding that will be going to several local fire departments located on the North Coast. 3 different volunteer fire departments will end up on the receiving end of these funds, with the headliner being the Hyetsik Fire Department getting $40,000 to bolster their equipment supply. The other 2 departments that are also set to get funds are the Masset Volunteer Fire Department and the 12 Volunteer Fire Department. And turning to the hockey world, the new logistics partner of the Vancouver Canucks recently gave some young local hockey players an experience they'll likely never forget. Here's CFTK's Kale Maslin.
Over the weekend, some young kids from the city of Prince Rupert got to experience something that very few people get to do in their lifetime and attend a National Hockey League game with VIP privileges. An under-11 development hockey team called the Prince Rupert Seawolves were invited to attend a game between the Vancouver Canucks and the Chicago Blackhawks that took place this past Saturday, which generated quite a bit of excitement among the team and their coaching staff prior to the game.
Yeah, I think all the kids are super excited in the whole division, and I know the coaches are pretty pumped as well, and the parents, and yeah, we really appreciate having the opportunity to do this. Partnership with DP World and the Vancouver Canucks. It's a huge honor, and yeah, one more sleep, hey boys?
Yeah. One
more sleep.
Just
They've been vibrating.
And as part of their VIP experience, the team also got to watch the Canucks morning skate and even meet up with a former Canuck in Darcy Rhoda, who helped the team to its appearance in the 1982 Stanley Cup Final. The opportunity for the Seawolves to have this special kind of experience came as a result of a brand new partnership between the multinational logistics company known as DP World and Canucks Sports and Entertainment, which was put together with some specific goals in mind.
This event underscores DP World's commitment to supporting vibrant communities and fostering connections that go beyond logistics. DP World has key operations in British Columbia, both in Prince Rupert and Vancouver. And together with the Canucks, we look forward to a successful collaboration that champions innovation, community impact, and the love for the game, such as the event with the Prince Rupert Seawolves.
And to cap off the night, the Canucks managed to win convincingly versus the Blackhawks by a score of 6-2. While it hasn't been confirmed if DP World will be offering out this kind of trip on a yearly basis, they are looking at potentially giving this kind of chance to other communities that are home to DP World ports like Nanaimo and even Vancouver itself. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
And staying in hockey, the Terrace River Kings have continued their playoff success this past weekend, adding another trophy to their hardware. Damian Smith from CFTK-TV was there to witness Game 2 of Terrace versus the Quesnel Kangaroos in the final of the Central Interior Hockey League.
Another successful season for the Terrace River Kings wrapped up this weekend as they found themselves lifting the Cameron Kerr Trophy for the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons. It also happens to be their 4th final appearance in a row, and the only team that had beat them in the finals was the Quesnel Kangaroos, who beat them in a series of 2-1 2 seasons ago in 2023. The home team scored 2 quick goals in the first period to hold a 2-0 lead. Then Mitchell Brown of the Kangaroos cut the lead to within 1, and then Quinnell shortly tied it up on the power play to head into the first intermission. Despite Jacob McLean putting the River Kings back on top, they ran into penalty trouble, allowing 2 power play goals on a double minor, and they were eventually down 4-3 and had to figure out how to come out flying in the third period. And from there, no River King entered the penalty box, and the team knew that they could be the better team 5-on-5.
Yeah, for the most part, it was like take a step back, breathe, we're all right. Mainly stay out of the penalty box. That costed us quite a bit. Get back to 5-on-5 hockey and just see what we can do in the third.
A quick goal from Colin Bell tied the game up, and Mason Ritchie, with 2 minutes left on the clock, scored the game-winning goal with just over 2 minutes left, giving Quinnell only a spare bit of time to send it to overtime. The team locked down on defense and won the title, tying a bow on a historic season and already setting a regular season record in CIHL history. And I wanted to throw the word dynasty around, but I don't think the players wanted to use that word just yet.
Well, not around me, but I'm pretty lucky that I was able to hitch my wagon to an incredible hockey team. And none of this happens without the legacy that the River Kings have carried for my brothers. So this team's pretty incredible to me and my family. This is the second year I got to lift that trophy first, and that could not mean more to me, could not mean more to my family. It's just amazing to be able to hoist it on home ice now in front of a sold-out arena. Just incredible support from the community once again.
They'll have one more shot to continue their success in 2 weeks from now, with the Koi Cup happening in Prince Rupert, and Terrace also happens to be the defending Koi Cup champions. From CFTK-TV, I'm Damian Smith.
Coming up next, how harm reduction saved a BC mother from addiction. Welcome back. Many are hoping our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, will be able to secure an increase in European trade. Here's CTV's Colton Prail.
For 7 years, Mark Carney helped steer the British economy. Now he's hoping trade with Europe can steer Canada clear of Donald Trump's tariff threats.
These existing partnerships and agreements are there. I think there's just an opportunity to now, given the context that we find ourselves in, to really lean into them.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Trump's upcoming reciprocal tariffs are a tool to redraw America's trade agreements with Canada, Mexico, and Europe.
They like the status quo. We don't like the status quo. We are going to set a new status quo, and then we can negotiate something, if they want to, that is fair for both sides.
Last year, Canada exported nearly $780 billion worth of goods, but nearly $600 billion of that was to the United States. While the European Union is a major trading partner, Canada only sent about $34 billion of merchandise, or just over 4% of our exports there, with another roughly $30 billion to the UK. France makes up less than 1% of Canadian exports. Experts say anything the Prime Minister can do to increase European trade could help future trade negotiations with the White House.
I definitely think you can't truly replace the relationship, but I do think it would give Canada leverage, saying, look, we're not standing still.
Canada does have a free trade agreement with the EU, although 10 countries still haven't ratified that agreement, including France, Italy, and Belgium. It has a similar agreement in place with the UK, and talks are underway to modernize and improve its focus.
The fact that it's not fully ratified does provide some legal uncertainty. And in this day and age, we're looking for more certainty.
Carney spoke with the head of the European Union, saying Canada is ready to secure new business in Europe. One sector that could be in is artificial intelligence. It's on the docket for his talks with Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer.
Canadians are beginning to choose trips closer to home instead of crossing the border. Here's CTV's Camille Carmali.
Here at Casa Loma, a castle-like mansion in Toronto, The high-flying axe and a chance to dress up have made this an attraction for local tourists.
A lot of people are saying, you know, I didn't go away this March break. I stayed home. I want to spend my money here.
Casa Loma, one of many local attractions, banking on an increase of Canadian tourists, with fewer people heading to the U.S. because of the weaker Canadian dollar and the ongoing trade war. In February, the number of Canadians crossing the border was down 23% year over year. And last year, in the first 2 weeks of March, more than 91,000 vehicles crossed the Niagara Falls border into the U.S. So far in March of this year, that's dropped down to just over 78,000. Travel agencies have been noticing a steep drop in Canadian travelers flying to the States, even canceling bookings in the past few weeks.
We realized that there was a 40% drop in bookings from Canada to the U.S.
Many choosing other international destinations instead.
We've noticed a demand for Europe specifically.
But a lot of Canadians will instead stay and explore their own backyard. And that has local attractions jumping on the opportunity. The CN Tower, Ripley's Aquarium, among the hotspots offering promotions and discounts.
There's going to be more money spent on travel within Canada. That is going to be, I'm anticipating a banner year.
Back at Casa Loma, Canadian tourists are already pulled in.
We always try to support, traveling local.
And Americans also want to see what Canada has to offer.
I just want to apologize to the Canadians and, that we want to support them.
An apology that almost makes them sound Canadian. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
The controversy surrounding harm reduction and safe supply continues to be on the top of political agendas. CTV's Penny Daflos reports of a case where harm reduction gave a mother her life back.
Thousands of British Columbians have died from toxic drugs in a crisis that's become one of the most tragic, complex, and hotly politicized issues of our time.
To the Premier, given his abject failure of harm reduction, will you start an inquiry?
Conservative politicians have gone after the BC NDP strategy, particularly supervised consumption sites.
They're drug dens, and they've made everything worse.
For me, without harm reduction, my kids would not have a mom today. If Narcan wasn't available, if Insight, if overdose prevention sites weren't there, and I wasn't safe when I had relapsed those times, my kids wouldn't have a mom.
Olivia Smith started drinking in her early teens, growing up in Nanaimo, moving on to meth and cocaine.
I think the first time I went to detox, I was 17-ish.
She got clean and had 2 kids. When they were young, she got hooked on fentanyl and lost custody.
I just couldn't stop. I had lost the power of choice. I would be crying on the streets, just wishing I could be with them.
She went to inpatient rehab and got her kids back, but within a couple years, she was buying fentanyl in Vancouver's downtown east side.
I think it was my 3rd overdose at that point, and I was like, I gotta stop. I can't keep doing this.
She walked into Connection Point, where prominent harm reduction advocate Guy Felicella connected her with a doctor and opioid substitute Suboxone.
Once I got on Suboxone, I went back to school. I was able to get an education and, start my life, start living.
No 2 recoveries are alike, and Smith has had setbacks, but her resiliency and experience is prompting her to speak out in support of both harm reduction and the availability of resources being there when someone asks for help.
Honestly, I get pretty emotional when I think about it because I can't even believe that human life is being debated.
Smith is now paying it forward as a peer support worker for those trying to find the healing and recovery she's found herself. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Victoria.
Turning to the weather, in this first phase after the full moon occurs, we can see the waning gibbous moon in the early morning daylight hours on the western horizon. It's at 90% illumination. The sun rose at 7:44 a.m. today and sets at 7:42 p.m. Tonight on the north coast, expect increasing cloudiness with a 60% chance of showers overnight. Some southeast winds coming in at 20 kilometers an hour late this evening, a low of +3. Over the next few days on the north coast, temperatures are looking like they'll sit around the 7 to 8 degree range, with showers and rain in the forecast. Overnight temperatures sitting in the 4 to 6 degree range. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, it's looking cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries. Some 20-kilometer-an-hour winds from the south becoming lighter later on, a low of -2, wind chill -7 overnight. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect temperatures to sit in the 5 to 8 degree range with periods of snow, flurries, and showers all expected. Overnight periods of rain and snow are expected as well, with temperatures sitting just above freezing. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, skies will be clear with a low of a chilly -14. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, temperatures will sit in the 4 to 7 degree range with a sunny Tuesday, then clouding over with flurries or rain showers Wednesday, clouds Thursday, Friday. Overnight lows in the 1 to -3 range. Checking your northwest highways now. On Highway 16, there's slush and slippery sections, utility work between Rainbow Avalanche Gates and Rainbow Chain Up, construction work between Chimdamash and West Binwall. On Highway 37, there's slippery sections as well as roadside brushing between Onion Lake and the Terrace-Kitimat Airport, frost heaves past Bob Quinn Lake. Highway 37A is going to be closed from 11 p.m. tonight until 3 a.m. No detour available. The Nishka Highway and Telegraph Creek Road have slippery sections, and the rest area is closed at Burnt Trailer, Tanzilla. Still to come, liquidation on the horizon for Hudson's Bay Company. Canada's longest-standing corporation might be on the way out. Here's CTV's Camille Carmali.
Designer clothing and high-priced items. A draw for shoppers, but even on a busy Saturday at the mall, parts of this Hudson's Bay store in Toronto sit quiet.
It's quite quiet in there. You'd think it'd be busier than that.
It's been that way for years.
I don't know how they've lasted so long, actually.
Now the company is on the brink of a complete shutdown.
From an odds standpoint, it's just not looking good, unfortunately, for them right now.
It says despite exhaustive efforts to secure sufficient financing, it'll now need to take part in the full liquidation of the entire business.
It's a massive blow to our morale and psyche.
Hudson's Bay dates back more than 350 years, when England gave the company exclusive control over the territory surrounding Hudson Bay. Later, it began to operate beyond fur trade, establishing trading posts.
Trading posts that were founded by the Bay, resulted in many Canadian towns and cities founded around them.
The company then expanded to Manitoba and beyond. In the 1920s, it turned into a department store chain, now with 80 locations across Canada and more than 9,000 employees. But experts say it was when the company was bought by an American firm in 2008 its downfall began, because it couldn't connect with Canadian consumers.
American shoppers are much more price sensitive. We also see that in the American consumers, they're much more sensitive and receptive to luxury brands.
Court filings show the company owes roughly $1 billion to creditors, including landlords and fashion companies like Ralph Lauren, Chanel, and Columbia, blaming its financial struggles on the pandemic and trade tensions between Canada and the U.S., while online giants like Amazon have taken away a big chunk of their sales.
The company says it's still looking to find a financial solution with stakeholders and landlords to avoid a full shutdown. But if that doesn't work, it plans to wrap up its liquidation process by June.
Turning to the stock markets now. The Canadian dollar rose slightly. The price of gold rose by $5. Oil rose by 46 cents, natural gas dropped 8 cents, and aluminum was up $18.50. In Toronto, the TSX was up almost 232 points. The Venture Index was up almost 10. In New York, the Nasdaq was up almost 55 points and the Dow Jones rose by 353 points. Manitoba RCMP say a second set of remains found in a Winnipeg area landfill have been identified as Mercedes Myron. A search of the Prairie Green landfill earlier this month confirmed finding the remains of another victim, Morgan Harris. Jeremy Skibicki was convicted last year of first-degree murder in the killing of Harris, Myron, and 2 other Indigenous women. Trial heard he targeted them at homeless shelters in Winnipeg and disposed of their bodies in garbage bins. And a delivery driver is about to be compensated in a big way for burns he suffered at a California Starbucks. Here's ABC's Allison Kosick.
Starbucks ordered to pay up. A California jury ordering the company to pay a delivery driver $50 million after hot tea spilled into his lap. Surveillance video from the drive-thru in Los Angeles shows a barista handing the man a drink carrier containing 3 teas, one seemingly unsecured. The cup then spilling. We freeze the video here. His lawyers say he suffered third-degree burns on his genitals and groin and claims Starbucks had a flagrant disregard for customer safety.
$50 million for a third-degree burn? I was shocked at first. I thought to myself, why so large? But then when I looked at the actual injuries and also a way to try to kind of send a message to Starbucks.
It's reminiscent of a landmark judgment against McDonald's in 1994 when hot coffee spilled onto a woman's lap.
I screamed, not realizing I was burned that bad. I knew I was in terrible pain.
She suffered third-degree burns and won a nearly $3 million judgment, which was later reduced and settled out of court. As for the Starbucks case, the lawyer for the plaintiff says he agreed to settle for $30 million if Starbucks would apologize and change its policies to prevent such an incident from happening again. But he says Starbucks declined. In a statement, Starbucks said it sympathizes with the man, but we disagree with the jury's decision that we were at fault for this incident and believe the damages awarded to be excessive.
Finally tonight, an update on the Gene Hackman investigation.
Officials now say Betsy called a medical service the morning after she was previously thought to have died. The Santa Fe sheriff says early February 12th she called Cloudberry, a medical concierge service with credentialed doctors.
That would indicate to me that she was seeking medical advice or medical help and may have not been feeling well.
A Cloudberry doctor described that call as an inquiry about an esoteric treatment, saying there were no signs of breathing issues or distress. The office called back twice, but never heard back. Investigators say Betsy Hackman died of hantavirus, a rare illness transmitted through rodents. She was last seen publicly February 11th, picking up a prescription at a pharmacy while wearing a mask. She was previously thought to have died that night, as several emails she received went unopened and unanswered. Gene Hackman is believed to have died a week later of advanced heart disease with Alzheimer's complications, and that timeline could now play a factor in the couple's wills. Gene left his $80 million estate to his wife and did not name his children. Betsy left her estate to charity.
If Betsy passes away first, and then Gene, his will, in a sense, would become void because the individual he wanted his items to be passed to no longer exists in the eyes of the law. His estate and everything he left in his will would go to probate court, where individuals can argue that they should receive the benefits of Gene Hackman's will.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.